Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC coming to you from the man cave. As you can see, I have the FREEWING 90mm F4 Phantom 2 on the Hobby King CG stand. Now, I've got her directly on for first. This is, by the way, this is also the radio rates in CG, and I always start out with the CG portion. And that is the Hobby King CG stand that I guess they've discontinued because they never seem to have it for sale. But if they do ever have it on for sale, it's $14.95. If you see it, grab it. I just got lucky and grabbed it, saw it and grabbed it. Well, anyways, 190 millimeters back from the leading edge root, which is where the fuse, or and she's just barely balanced, where the wing touches the fuse. That's the root, 190 millimeters back. And that's where she's balanced perfectly right there. Now let's put the gear down. And I think she's going to go nose down just a little bit.
Retracts deployed.
See what she does. I mean, she just balanced on there. All right, goes forward just a touch. So I'm okay with that. She just balances perfectly at 190. Now that's with the gear. I mean, that's with the gear up, with the way you're flying. Okay, that's her right there. All right, but you'll say, well, that's great and dandy, but where's the battery at? Well, let me show you where the battery goes. Put the gear back down. Don't have the ordnance on because I'm going to do the first couple of flights with the ordnance off, anyways. Okay, and that going down a little bit nose heavy with the gear down was just not enough to matter. So, okay, she's a big model. Now, as you can see, she's kind of shiny. The only mod I have done to her is give her a clear coat of the polyacrylic Minwax, and I gave her the KM model afterburner. Okay, now to show you back to the CG. Oh yeah, the other mod I did was that little antenna right there. That doesn't come with a model. I poked a zip tie through there, fished it through, lopped it off, and used that part that I lopped off to make like a T in there to hold it in place. And that way I've got something to grab a hold of the battery hatch with, or the canopy without having to dig out with my fingernails and messing up my paint. Okay, and it looks like an antenna. So, all right, now, where you put your CG is you put your 5,000 or 6,000, but they need to butt up against the back of the canopy here. So to show you on the plane is if you look, see right there, there my fingers wiggling, I'm basically almost clearing that hole there, that vent hole. Make you a line and put your 5,000 there. Of course, if you have a 6,000, maybe a slightly heavier battery, you might want to move it back just maybe a 1/4 of an inch. But that should give you your CG. Okay. Now to show you my setup inside here, I don't remember the numbers, but if you look back here, you see that orange glow back there. Okay, that is the Spectrum AR something 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 T. It's the 8-channel Spectrum receiver with safe and AS3X. It's been upgraded to the AS3X Plus. Okay, and that rudder is on the nose. Let me increase my throttle here.
Safe AS3X mode.
Okay. Okay. When I move back and forth, the gyro is working with the nose now. Okay. Now I don't know if that's the way it, but just because I enabled the nose gear gyro, if that's now works that way. I don't have it on a separate. The rudder is tied in with the rear rudder is tied in with the nose steering. So whether it's always been that way with safe or not, all I know is that now I notice that it's working on the rudder. So maybe that's a feature of AS3X. I don't see how, or the AX3 or Spectrum Plus, because I don't see how, because they were tied together anyways. So honestly, I can't answer that question. I do know that if you take a model that does not have rudders, but you have a steerable nose gear and you put that on its own channel, you can easily set up the nose gear gyro, and it obviously only works for that one rudder, which is the nose gear steering. Anyways, so you put your canopy, and that just, I can feel it rubbing on that battery as it locks into place. Okay, well that's the CG 190 millimeters back. At the field, now I've given it some marks on the top of the wings to show you the 190 millimeters, and that's these black marks here. Really, there's not really a landmark. 3/4 of the way back on this hard plastic doubler, put your finger out. You're just going to have to measure and put yourself some marks on there in order to do this at the field. Let's put the gear up, because you fly with your gear up, obviously. And at the field, some people like to do it from underneath. I actually like doing it underneath. It's a little bit easier. Put my finger there, and put my finger there, and she's pretty good right about there. I mean, she's not what you're not wanting to heavily nose down or heavily tail down. You know, you want her to be maybe slightly, because your finger has some variance. You know, kind of holding its position. Now, if it really dips down one way or dips down the other, well, then you've got a CG issue.
Retracts deployed.
Now, one word, there's 2 words of caution here. Two subjects of caution. Number 1, when you're assembling the plane, I did something really, really stupid. Imagine that. The fat guy did something stupid. Don't test lights, individual LED lights, with a servo tester. If you notice, my lights are on, but my strobe up here is not on. I burned it up testing it with light. It came on one time, and then just went out and never came back on. It's hooked up correctly. All the other lights, landing lights, everything works perfectly. But as I was testing, I saw it flashed right out, and that's the tail. If you can tell when a bulb blows, well, that's what I did. So what I'll have to do is I could, go in there and buy the kits, like $13, but you get all the lights, and run that wire and take this apart, and I'd have to cut a little bit of foam on the end, maybe not even see it, but I'd have to run that wire, and I may still do that. Or what's actually easier to do is the rudder over here just simply bolts in, and the channel is very obvious running the rudder cable. I may just buy a new rudder, but has the light installed. Well, the rudder is $45. The light kit is like $13, okay? But I'm going to have to kind of dig into this and really damage it, or just buy a new rudder and swap out the servos and the wires that are, because this already has the light in it. So I don't know, but it's not anything that's going to stop me from flying the plane right now. The other word of warning is the elevator. One of the only reasons I have not flown this yet, number 1, the weather, but number 2 is I've read so many forums and everything about this model that the elevator servo, or at least definitely the linkages, the linkage that holds the rudder in place will fail on you. So instead of, and I've read people where they've just replaced it with a heavier duty linkage or whatever. Instead, what I've done is I have taken a piece of steel, okay, and the existing rod, the ball link, I have run that piece of steel along that rod, and then wrapped them together, and put fiber tape around that to hold in place, and then 3 zip ties. That way that bar cannot flex. There's 2 steel bars there, they cannot flex. The other thing I've done is the same thing I did with the F-14, which crashed for other reasons. The ball link that's on there, because it's just a plastic head, that ball link could get loose and pop off of there, and then you lose your. So what I did was I put a small metal washer on the inside, or on the outside of the ball link, to where the ball link can't slide up over that washer. Now it's only a 1/16 of a 1/16 of a 1/16, paper thin metal washer, but it keeps that ball link from sliding off. Okay, and then I put just a dab of Loctite on the where the ball link attaches, not to where the thing moves, but where the ball link attaches. That way it won't back out, since I lost a minuscule amount of thread on the nut that goes on the outside. And that's the only thing I did. So I reinforced the bar. Oh, I also pulled, the other people are saying that the servo's fine, but the housing in which it sits in, the foam which it sits in, the glue's not really good and not really secure. So the servo will work its way out and cause you to have a real slop, a gross amount of slop. It's got a little bit of slop already, but it's got a lot less slop now than it did before. It actually had a lot more slop than this before. And what I did was pull the servo out, lined the inside with epoxy, and put that back down. And now that servo is in there, and it's not going to go anywhere. Okay? So that's that. So I reinforced the elevator stuff because I read just so many people saying that you need to do this. So I went ahead and did that. And what else to do? Give it a clear coat, and I added the KM model afterburner. Now, let's talk about the model itself. To show you about rates. We talked about CG, let's talk about rates. Now, this is strictly by the book. Okay? I have this model set up by the book. It's easier to show you the rates while you're looking at the control servo. Oh, yes, and you're saying, wait, how can the afterburner be on? You're not flying. You're not over 25%. I have my KM model afterburners set to where they're glowing at a slight glow when at idle. And I know, you scale guys are going to scoff at that and say, oh, that's not scale. You can't do that. That's not scale. Well, tough. At my plane. Now, to show you on a spectrum, okay, this is my rates. 100% for this aileron, high rates, 100% throws, 30% expo, ailerons. And that's what that looks like, okay? This is my mid rates.
Mid rates 90.
90%, 30% expo, okay?
High rate, low rates.
And low
80.
rates are 80, 30% expo. And that's what that looks like. Okay? Now, on elevator rates, my high rate is 100%, 30% expo. That's what that looks like. Okay?
Mid rates
My
90.
mid rates are 90, 30% expo. That's what that looks like.
High rates 100. Low rates 80.
And low rates are 80, okay, 30% expo. And that's what that looks like. Okay? All right. Now, in rudder, my rudder, I only have one rate, okay, 100% throws, 30% expo, and that's what that looks like. Okay? All right. Now, let's go to our flap setting. Now, this is by the book. Okay, you need to have a elevator to flap mix. I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to do the flight mode this time with this one. I'm just going to go by the book. Okay, for flaps up, it's a positive 100%. For takeoff flaps, it's a negative 35% with a negative 15 up elevator. Okay. And then for landing is a negative 100% and a negative 25% up elevator mix. And I have it on a 2-second deployment. So there's the numbers. Okay, if you want to look, pause. Okay, that's by the book. This is on Spectrum. This is what their millimeters equates to. Now let me show you what that looks like. Pay attention to the elevator.
Takeoff flaps.
That's the takeoff flaps. Okay. Which was a negative 100%, and then or negative 35% with a negative 15% up elevator.
Landing flaps.
And then landing flaps is a negative 100% with a negative 20%, 25% up elevator. Okay?
Take off flaps.
And that's
Flaps
what that equates to from the book millimeters. Now, personally, I think that's a bit
Take
much,
off flaps.
but
Landing flaps.
we will
Take off flaps. Flaps up.
we will see how that flies.
Take off flaps. Landing flaps. Flaps up.
Pay attention to that elevator going up and down with that mix. To show you what else I've done, because I have the safe receiver on the bind switch is where I have my braking, okay, assigned. And the nice thing about it is when you automatically let go of the braking, it goes back to normal forward motion. It puts the ESC back, okay? And on this switch here, which is my B switch,
Safe mode.
I have my furthest away is my regular safe mode or self-leveling, okay? So you can watch these, see the aileron, the aileron hold its position, okay? Watch the elevator. See how it's holding its position up, then it goes back to level, okay? That's where my safe is. If I go to the second, my position 1 or is AS3X, and that is strictly my gyro. Okay, strictly my wind gyro. And I have those set on an adjustable gain. Now, I don't have this any priorities or anything like that. Okay, I have my gains set on my roller to where if I turn the roller all the way down, okay, there's no movement at all. So in essence, I'm turning the gyro off. Okay, and if I turn the gains all the way up,
Gains high.
okay, now they're grossly exaggerated. Now the benefit of that is I usually start with just a small amount of gains. Okay, just a small amount of mids, a small amount of gains, just a little bit of correction. Okay, and if the wind is greater and she's really getting rocked around, okay, then I'll turn gains up a little bit for a little bit better wind correction. Now, if I notice though that I've got too much correction and with speed she starts to oscillate, then that means I've got my gains too high, and I can just in flight quickly turn them gains back down to where the wind she's still being locked in, but she's not oscillating with speed. And that's what you're looking for, is because every day the wind is going to change, the way that the density of the wind, how fast your battery, everything is a little bit different each day. So that's why I like keeping my gains adjustable. Now I know you can set headings and priorities and all that, and I'm sure that once you get to know all that stuff, it's simpler. But I like keeping them adjustable to adapt to each day. I just wish that light worked. That's my fault. The other thing is, and I turn this switch here.
Manual mode, no gyro.
Manual mode, that means no matter what I do, it's not gonna work. Now there's many videos. I have several videos on how to set up forward programming to where you can set your 3 levels. And something that just on a related subject, but on an off topic, I have several viewers that have a hard time understanding how you can have your flight modes with your safe, your AS3X, and your no gyro, and where you set up your forward program, it has flight mode 1, flight mode 2, flight mode 3. And then, well, how can you do that? They say, well, how can you do that and then have a flight mode for your flaps? I know this is off topic from here, but you can have unlimited amount of flight modes, okay? It's just, a flight mode is just a preset, either adjustable or preset profile that's assigned to that switch, okay? In this case, this profile of safe
mode
is set, where those gains are set, and when I put that flight mode in, that's set. Okay. However, if I put it in AS3X
mode,
I have that adjustable. So that flight mode is not set. It's whatever is my adjustable gains, okay? you say, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. And then the other flight mode is the manual mode. I've just removed the call out for the word flight mode. Don't get hung up on the terminology of flight mode. Okay, this is just
safe mode.
This just wants you, this forward programming wanted you to have a flight mode so it knows how to assign those 3 levels that you get with these receivers. Now, the flight mode, the other flight mode, which you can do for landing flaps, flap to elevator mix, if I was going to put one, I'd put it on my D switch. Okay. However, there's a part there's several videos, and I got a video on how to do flight modes. You can turn that audio call out. Flight mode 1, flight mode 2, flight mode 3. You can turn that off and just call it flaps up, flaps down. And the essence of a flight mode with the flaps up, or you say your landing flaps, which would be your flight mode 3 now, would mean that the receiver or the transmitter is ready for you to record your up or down elevator trim to level out the plane as you're flying with your flaps down, your flaps with your landing flaps all the way down. And then it would record that. That does not supersede or cancel out your safe and your AS3X flight mode. It's a totally separate flight mode. You could have, in theory, you could have a flight mode on every switch you've got on your transmitter, and you could have it set to react a certain way. I mean, there are people who have a flight mode or a mix set to wherever they land their plane like this, and they have a canopy that slides back on its own. Whenever it gets to a certain speed, the canopy automatically opens on some of your high-end jets. You could call that a flight mode in essence, because it's by definition, okay, because it is a profile of actions that are either set or adjustable based upon the switch that you're hitting on your transmitter. I hope I didn't make that clear as mud. You can have more than one flight mode. You're just going to be assigning them to different areas on your transmitter based upon what you want, okay, and they can be fixed, adjustable, and they don't have to, and the nice thing about it is they'll remember your last time you touched it. So in other words, if I had my flight mode active for landing flaps, and I had so many clicks of down elevator when I was using that flight mode, it will remember that the next time until I change it. Okay, so don't get hung up on the term flight mode and think you can only have the forward programming one flight mode. You can have multiple flight modes. All right. Okay, I know that was off topic, but I had several people ask me the question, and I was hoping to, kind of put that in here. Okay, what else do we do on this plane? We've talked about rates. We've talked about CG, which is 109 millimeters back from the leading edge root. We've talked about rates, radio, and CG. I can't really think of anything else. I'll be having my timer. Initial timer will be set for 3 minutes because this is a big 90, and I may be able to push it up to 4 minutes, maybe with a 6000. But I'll probably 3 to 3.5 minutes is where I'm going to start out with. I have an IX14. You can make all your own audio call outs for like
landing flaps.
Okay, landing flaps, or gear up and gear down. I can go in there and type, and I can put my gears up, or my flaps are deployed, or I can type in whatever, and then it will record that. Okay.
Prop is secured. Safe to approach.
There you go. That's a perfect example of one. When my prop's off, now with my prop going on.
Motor on. Be careful.
Okay. Let me just show you real quick how I do that. Now, this is only on the IX14. Okay, you're going to go to your model setup. Okay. You're going to go to your audio events and switch changes. All right, now that was H, right? That was my thing. That was there. Now, looky there. See, that's position 0.
Prop is secured. Safe to approach.
Now all you're going to do, just on there, and it's like motor's on.
Motor on. Be careful.
You just type in there what you want and hit the check when you're done. Okay, like let's. Okay, motor on. Be car. Here's what's going.
Prop is secured. Safe to approach. Motor on. Be car.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense, right? So. Switch careful, hit safe. Okay.
Prop is secured. Safe to approach. Motor on. Be careful.
And that's all there is to that for audio callouts. Let's okay. Here's the flaps. Okay, to show you another example of this. Flaps up. Okay. I'll just put flaps are up. Okay.
Take off flaps. Flaps are up.
See? And that is, it's just that simple. Okay? And that's just, and all you're doing is just assign a switch and then typing in what you want it to say. One thing I like that I've done for my timer, because you can also make your call outs for your timer. When my timer expires, okay, it says, Greg, you must land the Phantom. Okay, and then when I reset my timer on here, listen to what it says when I reset the timer. If I can get it to do it.
Starting the fun over.
See? Just little fun things you can do with the IX14. All right. I can't think of anything else to cover other than just get y'all a maiden. 100% throws, 30% expo is pretty much what I'm going to be running with. Now, there is some, for the older models, when they first released that, whenever with the, I think it was the 9-bladed fan, you had a lot of roll left whenever you took off. So the plane needed a little bit of right aileron right off the bat just to lift off straight. And then I've heard a lot of people tell me that with the new generation of fan, with the new, I guess the 12-blade or whatever's in there, whatever's in this one, that you don't really have to do that. The straight level trim is all you need. So I will adjust accordingly if it needs some right trim. But I have a heads up now, so I'm giving you the heads up. Be mindful of that. Okay, the other thing that you do need to do, and I don't know if I'm sure I covered in the build, which I re-released that build because the format was wrong. Make sure that your neutral trim on your elevator, as you see them black marks there, right there, that black mark, that is 8 millimeters down from that line. 8 millimeters down. You want the front of that elevator on both sides to meet with that. So you're going to automatically have programmed in a little bit.
Manual mode, no gyro.
Okay.
Safe mode, AS3X mode.
Okay. I had safe in, so it's
Safe
automatically
mode.
got a little
AS3X mode.
up elevator. But that's where you want it to be. That's your neutral point right there, is 8 millimeters down from that line right there. Okay, that's where you want your elevator to be. That's crucial, and that's for every iteration of this model that's come out. The other thing I did in the build, yes, I glued the tail hook on. Okay, and everybody said, well, how are you going to service your elevator? Well, I came back tonight before this video, and I did all that reinforcement. Well, what I did was, let me show you on the model. What I did was, is I cut it. Okay, if you look real close, try to hold this and show you. Okay, where it glues in here, I cut that out, and then all the way down, and then cut it back to that point there where this part joins, and that way all this is not glued in. This part here is not glued in. However, from here back all the way down is glued, and then I put some clear packing tape to kind of hold that in, and that way that whole cover will come off, and that just is just a loose piece. And I put the tape on there so that won't wiggle too much in flight. But yeah, and that's what I suggest do. Glue your tail hook onto the cover, but don't glue it where it touches the back part, this side part here. Don't glue this part on. Just glue from basically where this corner is back on. Glue it on there. And that way you won't have to worry about that. That was kind of a miss on their part. You shouldn't, for a part that's could very easily need to be serviced. Oh yeah, by the way, there's no cheaters in this plane, so thrust reverse will be very, very effective. Oh, trying to get this turned around. Because she ain't small, folks. Not a small model at all. But yeah, that for a part that's definitely going to need to be serviced from time to time and tightened up and stuff, they should have had that to where you can easily take that off of there. That was a miss on the, and even with the latest edition of this, they should have fixed that. Okay, and when I say the latest edition is whenever the new ESC with 120 amp ESC with the thrust reversing, and the new generation of more efficient motors that they, and I'm gosh darn it, I don't remember how many fans it's got or how many blades. I want to say it's 12 blade EDF. I just don't remember. But I know it's not the 9 blade anymore, and this is the 6S version. Well, there you go, folks. That is the FREEWING 90mm F4 Phantom, and that is just an absolutely beautiful plane. I keep looking at the camera to see how I'm looking on the screen, but just look at that thing. That thing, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that just gorgeous? I mean, that thing is beautiful. All right, folks, well, can't wait to get it made. And here it is. It's the middle of the night. It's like 2 a.m. Saturday morning, November 2nd. And I'm hoping later this afternoon, wind and weather, and the good Lord willing, I'll be able to give you a maiden on this sucker. Okay, folks, y'all have a good one. God bless y'all. God is good. And don't forget, faith, family, and friends, the F4 Phantoms. Bye-bye.